Hello, my name is Mason Hudson, and I want to talk to you about milk quality and product CDE. First and foremost, you need a four-person team to compete. Three people can compete, but you don't have a drop score, which brings me to the point: if you have four people, your fourth lowest score is your drop score. And then at the national level, there is no drop score, but at the state level and district level, there is. There is 7 parts over national, and there's 5 parts that we go over at Arkansas, on the Arkansas state level. The 7 parts on the national level is milk identification, cheese identification, fat content, California mass status test, problem solving, team activity, and the written exam. At the state level, they do fat content, milk identification, cheese identification, problem solving, and the written test. Okay, over the written test is 50 multiple choice, and over the milk identification, it has various different flavors of milk. It will usually have 10 milks and 10 cheeses. On the fat content, it usually only has 7 different ones to go over. So we'll start out on how to coach and teach milk identification. Through my teaching and coaching of milk identification, I've learned that it's very easy to try to tell them to treat it like wine. I know none of them have drank it, but they all know what you mean. They've all watched the movies where they swirl it in the air, they smell it, and then they taste it with, really trying to focus in on the taste. And also, when your team is getting better at it, I know a lot of people will make you put a straw in there, take a little bit out, and just about that much milk out of there, and being able to identify the flavor with that much milk makes it very easy when you get to the contest and you have a half a Dixie cup. You get a lot more milk there, and you can really hone in on what's in it. Okay, and the different kind of flavors they can be in there. One is bitter. Bitter is a kind of an interesting flavor because it tastes like, best as I can explain it, tastes like an aspirin right on the tip of your tongue. Like if you leave an aspirin there, it'll give you a very, very bitter flavor in your mouth. It's really hard to duplicate because you don't want to be putting aspirins in your milk all day, but that's how you do it. And on acid they use just buttermilk. Buttermilk is a little more acidic than regular milk, so when they add buttermilk to regular milk, it gives you an acidic flavor for your milk. Usually when your kids get better at it, they can smell the buttermilk in the high acid, and they can usually identify it. But until then, let them smell buttermilk and taste buttermilk, where they can easily pick up on that when it is high acid. Next is flat and watery. This milk quality foods and products uses whole milk, so any kid that doesn't drink whole milk on your team at home will always get flat and watery as normal milk, because they drink 2% or skim milk, which is flat and watery. I mean, it's just a little bit, and it makes a huge difference on what they drink at home. So all team members need to drink whole milk, Coleman whole milk if they can. Okay, and this one's a little more easier to identify. Just by swirling a cup, and the milk will gather on the side like it does in a cup, and it will slowly go down if it's whole milk. When it's flat and watery, it will speed up that process because it is thinner with the water in it, and it'll actually slide down the cup easier. Or if they do drink whole milk, they should know what 2% skim milk tastes like, which will be what flat and watery is. Foreign. Usually in contests in Arkansas, I know that they use bleach or just a couple drops of bleach. It's usually very easy to pick up on the smell. Every now and then they use dirt or kerosene or some kind of chemical in there where it does have a very, very pungent odor or visual foreign defect. It's very easy to pick up on the smell usually, so tasting this is usually not needed. Malt. Malt kind of has a malty flavor, kind of like a milkshake, a malt milkshake. So you can use that to use in your milk while practicing with your kids. You know, mix up some milk with a little bit of malt powder in it, and it'll give them an idea of what malt tastes like. Also, feed. Feed's another sweet tasting one that is very hard to distinguish with some kids which one's malt and which one's feed. Feed, you use blackstrap molasses in it, and the best way I can tell on letting kids distinguish between them two is usually feed will be a darker color with like a almost tan color to it than a malt, because the molasses does darken the milk by a fair amount. And the next is garlic and onion. This is very easy to make and usually can be picked up by smell, and if not smell, very easily by taste. It is usually made with either a couple drops of garlic or onion extract, or by just simply slicing an onion or garlic clove into a milk and letting it set for a while. And oxidized, one that is a little harder to make because a lot of people do not know what they use at contests. Most people use a penny, let it sit in the milk for a couple hours to give that kind of heavy metallic flavor to the milk. But at contests they use something called a copper sulfite, which gives the milk an almost blue flavor, blue coloring to it. So it should be visually easy to see if they have used a high amount of, because it should have a blue tint to it. And if it doesn't have that blue tint and they think it's that, they should feel a heavier sensation on the palate compared to regular milk. And rancid, I mean, it's easy to make rancid. You either just leave it out for a while, or you add some acid to it, where it'll very much be just very rancid flavored. Salty is one that is a, you have to taste. You can't smell the salt, you can't see the salt, is one you gotta taste. And after a kid has tasted it once or twice, it should be very easy to pick up on. It should have a somewhat salty flavor with just it is easily confused with high acid when used in a very high amount, but it has its distinguished differences. It should, in small amounts, it should just taste less creamy, is what I kind of pick up on it when I taste it. It should taste less creamy with just a little bit of salty flavor to